Well, when I start something new, I usually have a lot of energy, so I typically go to the gym. So yesterday morning, I was at Parliament at 6:15 a.m. and went to the gym.
I'm quite spiritual, so I will do an extra rosary or try to keep myself at peace. Um, but I don't think I did anything really new, to be honest.
As you may know, my background is from Goa in India, so it was a very religious Catholic background. And my grandmother actually, I have my Bible here that I was sworn in on, and she wrote, "Love God, love people."
I think the main message that came from my family was to just be myself and be at peace. I know I worked very hard on the campaign, and this is a very privileged opportunity to represent the seat. Um, so just to think about the people that I'm representing here. So yeah, just to be at peace and just to be myself.
I think a number of my colleagues made the comment to just enjoy every moment and really soak it in that first day. There was a lot of ceremony,
Mm.
and the significance of what we were doing and what we were a part of in the Australian democracy was something that we should always cherish. So it was to enjoy every moment. I had my family here, including one of my aunts from the United States, visiting. And so my parents and my family took a selfie at the front of the building, which is a very famous selfie spot.
Oh, here, right here in my office.
Deja vu. The reason I say that is because I 10 years ago worked as an attendant in the House of Representatives. So I'm very familiar with the place. And there was a sense of I'm coming back, although this time with a very different role.
It's very humbling watching it on TV. You don't when you stand and walk into the chambers, it is very humbling in a sense of just the grandeur. Um, Even though it can be quite intimate compared to what you would see on television, but it's very humbling knowing that you're there on behalf of your electorate. It has to be one of my lines in the middle of the speech around my story is a uniquely Australian story, and it is Barton's story, diverse, proud, imperfect, but always striving.
Given I was a child in the 90s, I'd have to say John Howard. John Howard, during his time, not only achieved a lot from a national perspective, but he made a few decisions that were perhaps not all that popular at the time, but had our national interest and long term interest at heart. And I think we very much live in a society that's shaped by the decisions of the Howard government, and having that courage and conviction was very important. And I had the opportunity to sit down with him in Sydney last year as a candidate.
Present, I would say Minister Penny Wong. I think Penny has a way of um, being quite intelligent, calm in her approach to responding to very complex issues, given her portfolio. And probably one of her biggest fans, and it is very surreal to be able to say she's one of my colleagues. So she's definitely one of like probably my favorites. Past it would have to be Julie Gillard. She's endured a lot. And I was relatively young, and wasn't fully engaged in the party at that point. But just as an outsider, just watching what she's gone through, yeah, definitely Julia Gillard, particularly after her misogyny speech. That was a very bit of a turning point of how I perceive not only women in politics, but also see her strength as our first female prime minister.
Well, I had my family here for day one. And so my family, along with one of my fantastic staff members and a really good friend who was involved in my campaign, who was my campaign director, we had lunch at the staff cafeteria at Parliament. So fairly low key, but also pretty special.
Can I be very honest with you? I did not eat lunch. After the speech, we myself and Z. So Z Sun is the newly elected member for Banks, which is the seat adjacent to Barton. And we just organised like a canapé lunch event. I didn't eat, I'll be very honest with you. So I did not eat lunch. I probably ate a sandwich or maybe wedges or something later in the afternoon with my family. So I only managed to eat properly last night for dinner at the Kingo, the pub down the road.
The only thing I can think about is there was a Labor member of Parliament, I think a Labor minister, who came and embraced me and gave me a big hug and said, "Congratulations." I think they expected that I was one of the Labor members of Parliament. And some of my colleagues around me looked at me and thought, "Well, do you have something you need to tell us?" Well, I think perhaps that could have been what it was. We're not always, I think the view from some is that the Liberal Party wouldn't, pre-select people who look different or what, I don't know, but I think perhaps that was what it was.
I don't know whether I wouldn't say it's embarrassing, but I notice that I'm very conscious of looking at the clock and if I'm hearing a bell, um, and I'm quite alive to the fact that I'm slightly anxious, thinking that I need to run to chambers, and it's like day three.
I think it's no secret that I'd be nervous about the maiden speech. Uh, and the reason I'd say that is because, but perhaps I'm a bit more nervous about it than, you'd normally think, because I've already been in the chamber and done just about everything there. I've walked around the chamber, as an attendant. I've sat in the House of Representatives, but the one thing I haven't done is speak and have my voice heard there. So I am very nervous about that, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's understanding the procedures of chambers is pretty important to me. I do love getting into the weed of procedures and processes. So I've been slowly trying to study the handbook, particularly that outlines all those rules, and the practice. But I think it just will come with time. It's like any job; you won't know things until you're going through things. So probably that's something that I'm nervous about, but I know that I will push through.
Well, like I was saying, I've done just about everything in Parliament before. But the one thing that was really different and quite a privilege this time was to actually walk in at the beginning of the sitting day with my colleagues around me and to be part of a team that I'm very much proud of and looking forward to working with. That was pretty special.
Probably question time. Question time was a very interesting moment to experience. So we had that yesterday to see just the mood of the chamber and the banter and the energy of using, the re-elected members of parliament coming in who are sort of also bringing us along on how we would support on, we'd say here when we support someone when they would make a couple of comments. And so I think that is probably a highlight.
Well, look, I don't think I had time to feel. I was so tired, I just crashed. By the time I finished here, so, we have very long days at Parliament, and even when parliamentary sitting finishes, I don't think I would have got to bed until about 11:30 at night. And keep in mind, I'm up at sort of 5 o'clock to go to the gym. So I think I was very tired and didn't really have much time to feel anything.
Exhausted. I can't lie. I'm terrible liars, but I have to be very honest with you. I felt really exhausted. I felt relieved. As soon as I closed my eyes, I knocked out. So I didn't realize, particularly, there's a lot of walking. We're clocking up to like 10,000, nearly 10,000 steps a day. And just finding your way around Parliament can be a bit overwhelming. But yeah, I was very tired but relieved.